Good morning. Good morning. My name is Yvonne. I'm from Cape Town in South Africa, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about painting in Antarctica today. So I'm an expedition artist. I've been working on ships for the past 6 years, mainly down in Antarctica, but also on the Arctic coast, Norway, West Africa, and West South America. So it's a job that I absolutely love. I'm passionate about it. I work with the most fantastic people, be it the expedition staff or the crew on board, the captains, and I just absolutely love my job. I know when I grew up, my father always said, "Oh, you can't make a living with art," but I have been very fortunate that I have combined my love for the sea and my love for painting all together. So I've got a diploma in art, in recreational art, and part of an associate of the Watercolor Society of South Africa. And I've been teaching quite a bit and offering art retreats all over South Africa as well. But painting in Antarctica it was a dream come true. So absolutely fantastic experience. So my main job on board is to offer workshops on the sea days. So when the ship is positioning from A to B, or the weather is extremely bad and everyone has to stay on board, we might offer lectures, something like that, or I would be doing an art workshop where I take people from all walks of life on the ship, people that have never painted before, right up to architects. I've had them all on board and we have a lot of fun, and we just do various paintings, and I show you sort of step by step how it goes. But I'm not only the artist in residence. I also have to work as Zodiac driver, which I love. I grew up sailing with my dad here in South Africa, and I absolutely love boats. So it's wonderful to be out there and just get new inspiration. So this is one of my main jobs on board, as well as things like small presentations to help wherever I can, just general naturalist, being ashore and helping the guests. Okay, next slide. Right, so this is basically what it looks like when I'm painting ashore. And as you can see, all types of weather you can get all types of weather in Antarctica. So sometimes the sun is shining and it's absolutely glorious. You take your jackets off, you don't even need gloves to paint. Other days, like on the left-hand side, it is absolutely freezing. I've got special gloves that the little caps come off, and just my fingertips stand out and I can paint that way. But it's quite extreme painting, and not all the guests have to go through this grueling exercise. It's just something for fun. I do offer plein air, which is painting outside, workshops ashore as well, where I carry the kit up for maybe 10 artists at a time and we paint outside. But that's normally reserved for really good weather days. This is normally what my kit exists of. So it's a very small little pouch, the size of like an A5, and it has the sketchbook, just a couple of brushes, my little water container on the top left, a palette. I use the various colors that I decide to choose from. I squeeze them in from a little tube. So I don't really buy the palettes where you get the set colors already in them. I choose which colors I want, and a couple of felt tip pens that are waterproof. And this I take everywhere. It's in my backpack. If I go ashore and there's a chance to do a bit of sketching, I can quickly whip it out and do some sketching. Even to travel with, it's nice and light. It's not going to take up a lot of space on your luggage. It's just like really handy way of recording what you do and what you see. Even if it's something like a journal, if you're into journaling, it's great to do some writing as well. I'm not big on the writing side, but I think I've seen some other artists do fantastic journals where they do a diary every day and then a tiny little sketch on the side. So it's a really great way of recording your holiday. So anything from pen and ink sketches. This was done from the deck of the ship. So one of the nice tabular icebergs that we passed along the way, probably in Antarctic Sound somewhere. And another pen and ink from Peterman Island. It's just, if I don't always have time to add the color, or maybe it starts snowing a bit and the color could be washed out, I tend to just stick to pen and ink. But most of my paintings in my sketchbook are with watercolor. So here, this is at a Brown Bluff, sitting just off one of the glaciers. The wind was sort of howling around me, but luckily from the back, so I was nicely protected. And then I normally take an extra jacket or something to sit on and try and do a little sketch on site. This is what I enjoy doing the most, is actually what's called plein air painting. So sitting at the place, painting what you see, and not really from a photograph. Another one at Couverville, beautiful, glorious day. This was absolutely, well, this was no pen and ink at all, only straight watercolor. And I must say, coming from South Africa, this was all pretty challenging a few years ago to do snow and ice, because we don't have snow and ice in South Africa. So this was a really great learning curve for me. But you know, the more you do, the better it gets, and don't ever worry about what somebody else is going to say or whatever. You just, the more you paint, the better it's going to get. And it's just really great later on to look through the paintings that you've done on your holiday. Then not forgetting the penguins. So we can't leave those out. They are the cutest things you have ever seen. These are the gentoo penguins. So here you can also see it's not just black and white. They have little red bills and these like little things and the orange feet. They sometimes really make a painting. It's just that little touch of color here and there. It just lets you zoom in on the particular focal point. But these guys, you can sit and watch them all day. They will walk past you. They are actually so curious. Sometimes if you sit still, they'll come right up to you, and great opportunities for a bit of painting. Also the chinstraps, one of my favorite, because they've got, they can be really, really cheeky penguins, but they've got real characters and certainly know what they want. They've got these great big pink feet. Lovely, lovely little penguins. But as I said, not all black and white. There are so many fantastic colors out there. The turquoises, the greens, the sea greens, the jades, indigos, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue. It's just absolutely wonderful. And then of course these albatross are always soaring around the back of the ship, and fantastic to watch, or just to sit at the back of the ship and try and do a few sort of sketches as they whoosh past, and then you can do a watercolor or a painting of it later on. Here I've actually used a bit of salt. So you wet your painting, you drop some salt onto it, and it just makes the most wonderful abstract designs. Again, some gentoos with a little red tip on the beak, and quite a flattish, calmish day with wonderful reflections, sitting on a piece of ice that had broken off the shelf. And we cruised along very slowly, switched off the engine, just glided by, and they were happy just to be preening themselves and just carrying on with their life. But of course, not just all sea life. So there's a lot of landscapes to paint. This is Horseshoe Island, where there's an old base, an old Antarctica base. And here we had, in fact, it was a bit scary. We had extremely warm weather for this day. I think it reached to about 12 degrees or something, and this is quite far south. It was, we had our polar plunge here today, at this particular day, but I sat up on the rock, and here I sat up on the rock and I did some sketching and then painting of the hut. Sitting with me was the doctor on board, and he decided he'd give a bit of a, give painting a bit of a chance as well. Deception Island, one of the highlights as you go to Antarctica. These are in the South Shetland Islands. And there's a fantastic viewpoint. It's called Neptune's Window that you can hike up to. And on the left, you can see the bit of a sketch that I do first. And if there is time, I might add color or not, or add the color again later on. But you'll see that it's a little book, and I use a clip to keep the pages from fluttering in the wind. So that was something that was not on my slide with all my equipment. I always have 2 clips and this elastic just to prevent the paper from fluttering around and tearing off if there's a bit of a breeze. But there you can see my gloves, and it was a pretty chilly day. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the art tuition on board. This is when we have the sea days, and we normally arrange tables. Every table gets a palette, and a few people share that palette with paint in. There's cups of water and paper and brushes, pencils, everything that somebody would need. So what I normally do is I give a bit of a demonstration first. So I show people what we're going to be doing, whether it's a landscape, a penguin, or whatever, something, a seal, a whale. I have a lot of images that are already printed, so people can take either from their own computer, their camera, or the images that I've printed. Then we do the drawing first, and then I do the demonstration on the watercolor, what to do and how to do it, and then people get on with their work. And then I would go round and round and give everybody advice and help, and wherever it's needed. So this is now a little bit of a demonstration in time-lapse. It's, first of all, I did put the water down, then added some color. So this is called a wet on wet. And you just add stronger and stronger colors, and the black thing you see on the side coming in, that's my hairdryer that I just use for a little bit quicker drying. But as the paper dries, you add in a bit more details. The white paint is actually gouache, and that just gives a little bit of lights back to the watercolor. And then I normally come in afterwards with a little bit of felt tip pen or a calligraphy pen. It has a thick and a thin edge, just to add a little bit of detail. And that is basically the basics of a wet on wet watercolor with just a little bit of detail. Here you can see the end product. So I did on the brown paper, I did the sketch on shore, and then later on I came and did a little watercolor while I was on board, and the video is just to show you how it was produced. This is some students' work. They can do, as I said, whatever they like, whichever penguins they've seen, using from their own photographs. So this is them all busy getting going. There's an image that the artist is using on the left, and she's just decided to take one specific item out of that image and to paint that gentoo penguin. Here again, just showing what we use for mixing. It's all very nice and clean and neat. No oils, no terps, nothing, just good old watercolor. And a bit of a full class. So just sometimes we have quite a lot of people taking part, sometimes not that many. It's just as everyone wishes. If you feel like taking part a little bit, you take part. It's actually incredible how quickly the time flies when you're busy like this. An hour can fly by without you realizing. So it's certainly true what they say, time flies when you're having fun. Now this is another little video just of my small A5 sketchbook or watercolor book. Just a few of the paintings that I've done. while ashore. So sometimes they come out nicely, sometimes they're a bit rough. It doesn't matter. It's just a recording for yourself to take home afterwards. It's actually amazing how when you look through these sketchbooks later on, when you're home, you will remember exactly where you were sitting when you were doing that sketch. Because if you're taking photographs, you're taking hundreds of photographs and it's just snap, snap, snap. And sometimes you look back on it and you think, you know, where on earth was that? But if you're sitting down doing a sketch or a painting while you're on the site, you remember every single detail. So 3-4 years later, you can look through your sketchbook and you will remember exactly where you sat, what the temperature was, if it was howling or sunny, whatever, what was happening around you, because you're observing all the little details that you might not do when you are taking all those photographs. And this one of my favorite ones in my book is of Nico Harbour. This is a special place down in Antarctica with the glacier. This is pretty early season, so still a lot of snow on the shore. And that is it for me today. So adios, but not goodbye. This little chap, Adele, jumped into my my zodiac, and it was an absolute highlight of this whole season. Was when he jumped in my zodiac. They are just so curious. He sat there for 20 minutes, and luckily I didn't have to do any. You know, I was just pottering around and waiting for guests to go from the ship to the shore, and he was just the cutest ever. So hopefully we'll see you again in the not too distant future, and get those sketchbooks out and definitely take them with on your next trip.